Do you not understand what we're saying? You really are a dim-witted woman.
I've told you time and again not to leech money from our son. Disappear, you parasitic wife. LOL.
The in-laws said this as they tried to kick me out. I decided to leave as I felt it was pointless to argue with them.
It might be enlightening for you to personally experience who the real parasite is.
My name is Emily. I'm a 35-year-old office worker. Tom and I have been married for 3 years. We don't have children yet, but since we both had incomes, we used to go on trips and dine at delicious restaurants, enjoying our happy days together. Now, I've transitioned to remote work and can manage most of my tasks from home. So, I mainly handle household chores, allowing Tom to focus solely on his work. Still, on weekends, Tom proactively does housework, and we've been able to lead a balanced married life. Tom and I met at a group blind date, and I was instantly drawn to his kind smile. We dated, began a relationship, and after 2 years, we got married. Even after marriage, Tom has always been very kind, and his smile heals me every day. While we have such a happy marriage, it's not without its concerns. The problem is the presence of the in-laws. Tom's family runs a ramen shop. His father left his office job and started the business about 15 years ago. And it seems to be doing well, with several branches in the city. Perhaps because of that, the first time I met the in-laws, they both were dressed in expensive luxury brands. However, they didn't seem to wear luxury brands as a genuine choice, but rather just to show off. It felt oddly mismatched. To put it bluntly, they seemed somewhat nouveau riche. The first time I met my in-laws was when we visited them to announce our marriage, and they always seemed to look down on me.
Well, any daughter-in-law is fine as long as she can do housework and doesn't cause us trouble.
But she does seem to have a lack of fortune, doesn't she?
I know you're working at a company now, but if you ever lose your job, please don't think of working at our shop. It feels like it might drive our money away.
I was taken aback by the way my in-laws spoke to me upon our first meeting. My husband quickly reprimanded them, and they behaved themselves after that. But I realized they were the kind of people who spoke their minds without any filter. Maybe it's a trait of restaurant owners, especially ramen shop owners, to be assertive. Still, my husband is on my side, and even if I were to lose my job, I wouldn't consider working in a ramen shop, so their words didn't bother me much. Besides, my husband apologized many times for his parents' rude behavior and said we only need to interact with them during major family events. Apparently, he doesn't get along well with them. I heard that his father had always been stubborn and didn't do well as a salaried worker. Though he was kind to my husband, his son, his attitude became arrogant and condescending when his ramen shop became popular. He often meddled in my husband's career choices and demanded more respect. Because he was the breadwinner. That's why my husband didn't like being around his parents and moved out when he went to college. The only thing he's grateful to his parents for is that the profit from the ramen shop funded his college education. Thanks to that, he got a job in a reputable company and wants to repay them for their kindness someday. But other than that, he generally wants to avoid them. Since he told me that, I haven't met with my in-laws even once after getting married. I think one reason we haven't had to meet them is that we don't have children yet. For a while, we lived happily as a married couple. However, recently, my in-laws' ramen shop started facing financial difficulties. Their rude attitude was the main cause. In the past, if a ramen shop had good food, people would visit even if the owner was gruff and unapproachable. But now, online reviews and social media heavily influence a shop's reputation. The in-laws' service became the subject of many negative reviews. Complaints ranged from the owner being too curt, to messy serving by the waitress, to the owner visibly getting grumpier during rush hours. It felt like they had become complacent due to their initial success. However, in reality, their business dwindled, and the branches served food worse than instant ramen. Negative reviews spread rapidly, causing their shop's reputation to plummet. But they blamed the times and stubbornly stuck to their old ways, which eventually led to the closure of all their shops, including their main one. It seems they finally realized the gravity of the situation. Uncharacteristically, they turned to their son, my husband, for help.
Tom, please help us. At this rate, we'll end up on the streets.
It seemed my husband had anticipated his parents would come to us like this.
So it really didn't work out, did it? I told you before, right? If you act too arrogantly, you'll end up regretting it. There's a saying, the customer is God. If you treat them carelessly, they'll come back to bite you. But back then, you dismissed my words as just naive opinions, didn't you? This is your own doing. You really should reflect on your actions. I'm sorry, but turning to us for help is futile.
My in-laws collapsed to their knees, crying at my husband's harsh words. I never imagined my kind-hearted husband would be so stern. Yet, I could feel the love he held for his parents in his words. He spoke sternly out of concern for them. At that moment, I realized how admirable my husband's character was and fell for him all over again. Eventually, my in-laws gave up and left. However, a month later, they returned to us. Looking completely worn out, without a single branded item they used to flaunt.
Please, even after selling all our branded goods, we still can't pay off our debt. We even sold the car, but there's still so much debt remaining. Can you help us out?
Please, Tom. We don't have anyone else to turn to but you.
Saying that, the in-laws bowed deeply to their son. My husband crossed his arms, pondering what to do. I wasn't fond of my in-laws, but seeing them in such dire straits made me want to help them.
Tom, what about sending them a monthly allowance?
My husband looked surprised at my suggestion. The in-laws also looked shocked, lifting their heads to gaze at us.
Emily, are you sure?
Yes. You mentioned wanting to repay them for putting you through college, didn't you?
Tom, is that true?
Well, I did say something like that.
Tom, please, we'll work hard to pay off our debts. Can you at least support our living expenses?
The in-laws once again bowed deeply. In the end, my husband agreed to support his parents. He decided to transfer $700 to them every month. I chose to send $800 every month. My husband told me that I didn't need to send that much, but I wanted the in-laws to pay off their debts and restart their lives as soon as possible. I believed this incident would make the in-laws reconsider their arrogant attitude. Besides, I had a source of income other than my regular job. It was income from real estate. I had been studying stocks and investments for a long time and had managed to grow my assets through it. After accumulating a decent amount of wealth, I purchased a luxury apartment and was using it for rental income. Little by little, my assets grew, and I bought another apartment for real estate investment. Before I knew it, I was earning around $700,000 annually. So, I had a lot of financial leeway. Of course, I kept this a secret from the in-laws. I was giving my husband a bit more money than necessary to support his parents for his sake. The in-laws were very grateful for our support and expressed their thanks.
Tom, thank you so much. Thanks to you, our life is slowly becoming stable.
Seeing the in-laws express their gratitude made Tom visibly happy. I hoped that with this, the in-laws would find jobs and be able to repay their debts. However, a month went by and it seemed they still hadn't found any work. An even more troubling issue arose. The in-laws started visiting our house frequently during the weekdays.
Our food expenses are getting a bit much.
Emily, could you possibly give us something to eat?
Saying so, the in-laws would come around lunchtime and ask me for food. Initially, they'd just eat and leave, but recently they've been lounging on the sofa after meals and even asking for desserts.
I have work too, so I'd appreciate it if you didn't stay too long.
My work was beginning to be affected, so I told the in-laws as much. The in-laws exchanged glances and laughed.
At work, aren't you always at home?
If you're going to lie, At least make it a more believable one, haha.
That was the response from the in-laws. Perhaps because they've been in the food and beverage industry for a long time. They might not be familiar with the concept of remote work. I tried explaining it in detail to the in-laws. However, they responded with, "We don't really understand all this computer stuff," and didn't try to comprehend my explanation. No matter how much I told them I was busy with work, they wouldn't listen. And their demands only increased.
Emily, we're out of tea. Hurry up and go buy some.
Don't you have any snacks? Prepare some rice crackers or something. Such a useless daughter-in-law. For a housewife, you're really inconsiderate. It's the worst.
The in-laws kept blaming me with such words. They promised to work and repay their debts, but they kept saying they couldn't find jobs. And kept intruding into our home during the day. Moreover, they'd hurriedly leave before my husband returned. Probably, they feel a bit guilty towards my husband, who is providing them financial support. Or maybe they just don't want to be asked if they found a job yet by him. I was at my limit. Even though I contribute a significant part of the money we give them, why do I have to be treated this way? I stood up to the in-laws and said, "Please leave now."
What?
The in-laws, seemingly never expecting me to say that, were taken aback for a moment. But immediately, their faces turned bright red with anger.
Who do you think you are? A mere wife, giving orders to your husband's parents.
Exactly. And you're just a housewife depending on Tom's income at that.
How many times do I have to tell you I'm not just a housewife?
Enough of your delusional stories.
That's how the in-laws kept shouting. Then, with a gleam in their eyes, they came up with an idea.
Right, you should just leave this place.
What?
Indeed, that's the best idea. It's because of you that Tom's remittance to us is so small.
You know we're sending you $1,500 a month, right? What do you mean it's not enough?
Well, that's just what our living expenses amount to normally.
It's actually barely enough.
I was at a loss for words. They seemed to be the type who, no matter how much money they lose, can't give up their luxurious lifestyle. As I stood there in disbelief, they glared at me coldly.
Hey, how long are you planning to stand there daydreaming?
Pack your bags already.
Huh?
Don't you understand what we're telling you? You really are dense, aren't you?
We're telling you to stop leeching off our son for money. Get lost, you parasite of a wife. Haha.
With those words, the in-laws tried to throw me out. I realized there was no point in talking to them anymore, so I decided to leave as they demanded.
Understood. I'll pack my things and leave then.
As I said this, my in-laws looked smug.
Now our lives are finally secure. Haha.
If it was just the three of us, Tom and us, everything would have gone smoothly from the start.
Ignoring their remarks, I began to pack my things.
I'll disappear as quickly as possible then.
Hearing this, my in-laws left with a look of satisfaction. That night, I explained the situation to my husband when he returned home. He was more dumbfounded than angry.
Emily, I'm truly sorry.
It's okay. Now I realize that they'll never change. It's good to know that there's no point in trying anymore.
I comforted my husband, and together, we packed our things and decided to leave the house. About 2 weeks later, we received a call from the in-laws.
So, what's the situation now? Have you left the house? I've been trying to contact Tom about the remittances, but he seems too busy to answer the phone.
We've already left, so you can rest easy. You won't see me in front of you anymore.
Hearing this, I could hear my in-laws rejoicing on the other end.
Ah, I see. Haha. Finally, our son can get rid of the burden that was you. Haha.
Now, with this, Tom's remittances will increase and our life will get easier. Haha.
The in-laws seemed pleased as they continued their conversation. I sighed and responded sharply.
You really had a lot to say about me, didn't you? It would be good for you to experience firsthand who truly fits the description of a parasite.
As I said this, I could hear the in-laws getting angry.
Again with that attitude. You truly are a hopeless daughter-in-law. Well, you're probably not even our daughter-in-law anymore.
You might as well live a poor and lonely life.
My in-laws are so deluded. I figured I'd just let them keep believing that, so I just made some non-committal responses and hung up the phone. A week later, I received another call.
Do you need something else?
As soon as I answered, my in-laws, sounding panicked, started interrogating me.
What the hell is going on? When I went to the apartment where Tom lives, someone else was living there. You know something, don't you? Even if you two broke up. Tell me where Tom is.
That's how they demanded information. My husband, who was listening next to me, took the phone.
I've always been with Emily.
Tom, why are you with that woman? And why have the remittances to us stopped?
Maybe because you insulted and tried to drive away my precious wife. I won't forgive anyone who hurts my beloved wife, even if it's my own parents. Besides, you never listened when Emily explained multiple times about her job and such, did you? You probably didn't even try to find out that Emily was sending you more money than I was.
What? Is that true?
Emily was sending you $1,500 every month because she wanted you to pay off your debts quickly. And yet, you insulted her, calling her useless. I won't be sending anything to such parents. Sorry, but I'm cutting ties with you as family. Now deal with your debts on your own.
Wait, I had no idea Emily was earning so much.
Can you forgive us if we apologize? Maybe then you can send money again.
It's too late. Just give it up.
My husband hung up the phone. Then, I blocked my in-laws' number, ensuring that we would no longer be involved with them. According to what my husband heard from relatives, our in-laws sold their house, but couldn't pay off their debts. Now, they apparently live in a rundown apartment, both working low-wage jobs to make ends meet and pay off their debts. When they were successful with their ramen restaurant, they reportedly acted arrogantly towards their relatives. When they ran out of money, they seemed to have asked their relatives for help, but nobody assisted them. So, they are now completely isolated, living in absolute poverty. My husband and I have given them as much support as we could. We can't cover for them anymore. It's their own doing. I doubt they'll ever change their ways or attitude, so they might as well continue living this way. On the other hand, we continue to enjoy our time together as a working couple. A year later, I became pregnant. I hadn't expected to have a child at this time, but we are grateful for this blessing from above. Together with my beloved husband, we plan to raise our precious child.